How long? 15 minutes.
Belinda Smith, welcome to Yellow Shelf.
Thank you, Joanna. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, so excited. You are a podcast host. Your show is called Renovate and Real Estate. I've been listening for about a year now. Um, Tell us in, 10 minutes in an interview what your show's all about.
My show, my business is Renovate and Real Estate. Essentially, I teach people how to renovate their homes for, I always say for love, lifestyle, and profit because it's always a mix of all three of those. And so I started a podcast just because I was interviewing really interesting people inside the renovation space. And that could be real estate agents, buyers agents, mortgage brokers. It can be my own students talking about their own renovation good times and also the disasters. So I started to talk about renovating, but more than renovating. So I actually call my little sub headline is more than renovating. I think when we're talking about property and living in Australia and buying properties to renovate and all the ups and downs attached to that, there's so much more to it than the actual property. So that's the theme of the show. But yeah, it's just me getting on, having a talk to everyone and them sharing their expertise. A lot of people listen to us while they're painting or doing their floors. That's the common
Yeah.
feedback, as a lot of my audience are actually renovating while they're listening to the podcast, and that's a win for me. That's what I want them to be doing.
Yeah, and Belinda, when I started listening to your show, this can be an overwhelming journey for somebody who's considering it, who doesn't know where to go to get advice. And what your show does, it really, delivers it gives insights and advice. Tell us, why did you start the podcast? And tell us a bit about you.
Yeah, I actually did start the podcast so that people would have more of an idea of me, of my students, of the results that we get, of the ups and downs. I wanted people to hear the real story and not just see what we put out there online, on a web page or a very, very refined Instagram post. I just thought that when you get people on a podcast, you hear the laughter, you hear the giggles, you hear the tone in people's voice when they've had a hard renovation, like all of that kind of stuff. I just wanted to keep it real.
Yeah.
And also from a business perspective, if anybody out there is thinking about running a podcast, when people jump on the phone with me now, they start the conversation like, "Hi Belinda, how you doing?" Like they already know me. So the
Yeah.
podcast has been really good for my business and for me to be able to have highly engaged conversations right from the start because they're already relaxed on the phone with me because they feel like they know who I am and what I'm like before we start a conversation. So it's made business good too. And thirdly, selfishly, I really like talking.
I
Like
love that.
talking to people, finding out what's in their headspace, going on the journey with them. I just like everything about it. So I'm very happy that I launched a podcast. It was one of those things that I thought, oh, do I need it or should I? And I'm very, very happy that I did.
Yeah. And Belinda, it's interesting to learn about you. You had a career prior in the service industry, if you want to mention that. And also
Yeah,
that you're a qualified, real estate agent and broker and
yeah.
and qualified in that investment space. So you really know this space.
Yeah, it's really funny how in our lives sometimes things that we were doing in the moment for I don't even know what reason, they all sort of fall into place and they all line up. And now looking back, I think, yeah, now I understand why I did all of those courses and got all those qualifications. So in short, I was in the police force for 21 years.
Wow.
I was doing proper police work, the real deal, chasing
Yeah.
baddies and throwing drunks in the back of the police paddy wagon and some undercover work with Special Operations Group and the drug squad in the 80s in King's Cross. I worked undercover there for a little while, so I was the real deal. But when I finished the police force, or I'd had enough, I was just worn out after 21 years, but I felt very institutionalized. I thought, what else am I going to be able to do? So I started doing other qualifications from things that I enjoyed. We'd always renovated, my husband and I, that had always been a part of our lives. So we'd always been in the space of property renovation and investment. And it was just a natural progression for me to be interested in real estate. So I did my real estate agency course. I wanted to know more about lending. So I did my mortgage broking qualifications. And then here we are all these years later where I'm actually coaching people in the renovation space. So yeah, everything's come full circle.
Oh, I love that. And I'm sure everyone listening and watching loves that journey story because I think, like you said, it kind of makes you who you are in the moment now. Belinda, if we're watching anywhere around the world, because you've got at least 70 episodes, there's plenty of content for people to dive into. How do we connect with you? How do we get curious about your podcast? I know you're on all the socials, website, Instagram, Facebook. You tell us where we go.
So if you hit at Renovate and Real Estate, the full word and, then up will come my Instagram, my Facebook. You'll find us on Apple, iTunes, and Spotify under the podcast handle Renovate and Real Estate. You'll find me everywhere. And if you wanted to reach out for any particular reason, you're really welcome to hit me up. I think my phone number's still on my website. So everything's renovateandrealestate.com.au is the website. So that's it in a nutshell. But yeah, so, my whole premise in starting my renovation business and podcast is to help people get started from wherever they are, brand new beginners or property investors. Renovation is just such an amazing vehicle. I love it. I love property, full stop. So it was just a natural thing for me to talk about it.
Yeah. Look, Belinda, I'll put all those links in the show notes to make it easy for anyone to connect with you and get curious. Can I just say, as a fellow podcaster, your voice, even listening to you on socials or watching you on YouTube, you've got this really warm, trusting voice. So no wonder you do so well as a podcast host, a businesswoman, as well as like workshops. I know you do workshops and events. So you're a busy lady.
I'm a busy lady, but I've never felt more fulfilled. Like I couldn't retire.
Yeah.
Property's already made me financially free if you want to look at the numbers.
Yes.
But the thought of retiring terrifies me and being bored, that worries me. So
Yeah.
I will always be doing something. I feel like I've just begun this whole business world. Has just lit a fire within for I don't even know what reason. I just find that every day is exhilarating for all the ups and downs of business and property, same.
Yeah.
Um, so, yeah, I just feel like I'm not done. And the podcast is just the beginning for me as well.
Yeah. Well, it definitely comes across. Belinda, all the very best. And thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much for having me on Yellow Shelf.
Cheers.